A big welcome to the Nick Elston Show, hosted by inspirational speaker and transformational speaking coach Nick Elston. This show brings you the people who inspire, motivate, educate, and engage in all walks of life, sharing their insights and experiences honestly, unfiltered, and off script. So, without further ado, let's get stuck into today's show.
Hey everyone, a big welcome back to the Nick Elston Show. It's season 4, episode 4. I'll let you into a little secret. This should have been episode 1, but thank you to Zoom changing their settings. We had some issues. That's basically me saying it's not my fault, it's Zoom, so sorry, Dan. But we have got the amazing Dan Skermer, a guy I referenced a couple of episodes ago because I forgot you hadn't heard about him yet. So Dan Skermer is a great guy, really happy to have him on the show. Just one of life's good guys, to be fair. So without further ado, big round of applause for Dan Skermer.
Hi Nick, how you doing? So good to see you. Thank you for that build-up. I love that. That's awesome.
You're very welcome. I'm available for reasonable rates to MC any event that you're walking into. Dan, tell us who you are, where you're from, and what you're about.
Okay, so my name's Dan Skermer. I'm from Birmingham, as you can probably tell by the accent. I've lived in I was raised in Birmingham, and something that you might not know about me is that I used to be a 9-foot yellow banana called Bella. So
we didn't talk about this much last time. Suddenly, all this kind of rabbit holes are popping up in front of us. That just this why it's not unscripted. This why it's not unscripted. This kind of thing. Can you explain, please, before I get the explicit rating dusted off and put on the show?
Amazing. Yeah, basically, so when I was 17, I went on holiday to Turkey for the first time, and I used to work at a taxi office. So I used to answer the phones we used to sit drinking a vodka and coke and smoking a cigarette on a Saturday night. And when me and one of the drivers decided to go on holiday, and we went to Turkey. It was the best time of my life. Went there for 2 weeks, had the most amazing, epic time. And then when it was due to come home, I asked the cabin crew to take my luggage off the plane. Got a taxi back to the resort, slept on my suitcase in a restaurant overnight, got kicked out by security. And I was traipsing around in the middle of August trying to find somewhere to work. And by the end of the day, I realised it's high season, there's no jobs available. I was kind of crumbling in the corner somewhere thinking, what am I going to do? And I came out and there was a massive whopping sign in front of me saying, Fantasia, British entertainment company looking for male vocalists. And the reason I was a 9-foot yellow banana is because I can't sing at all. So the only way...
That's the two options in life. There are people that can sing, or they're 9-foot yellow bananas. That's the two.
Yeah, it was a little bit tricky because we used to do kids' party nights. We used to do Hawaiian hula nights, hence the banana in a grass skirt, little yellow wellies on. And then we used to swap it round and then do a kids' party night. So I used to be Gigi the clown. But what happened is when you're a clown in 50-degree heat and you're on a little mini tricycle trying to go around and entertain all the kids, the makeup starts to sweat off your face quite a lot. And I did look a little bit like cousin. Well, it's cousin, basically. It wasn't pleasant for the children. Some of them screamed. And when I was a banana, I did get picked up by a bunch of lads that I had a little bit of banter with around the pool, and they decided to throw me into the pool whilst I was wearing a giant sponge banana suit, which meant that I did sink very quickly to the bottom and had to be rescued by a couple of the guests there. So yeah, that was an experience in life for sure.
I mean, literally, we've not even touched on anything, and we're just going straight into another little side story. So what? Where should we go with this? Should we go? Let's carry on. So your journey that got you to where you are now, which we will come on to, I promise. But this is far too interesting to skip over. How did that then translate? As ongoing, did you stay in that kind of line of work in kind of travel and hospitality and stuff?
Yeah, so I used to be that annoying person that used to come up to you on the sunbed and say, "Hi, you guys, what you up to tonight? You coming to our show? Come and watch what we're doing." And we had all the dancers and the singers doing their shows. We had the sketch shows. We had the kids' party nights. We had kamikaze karaoke and costume karaoke nights. It was brilliant. And then I did that for 3 years and then got made. The company unfortunately closed down. So I came back to the UK and started as my job as a receptionist in a hotel. And then it was when I was a wedding planner at this hotel, and I've organised 398 weddings in 4 years, which was, if I ever heard about a chocolate fountain ever again, it was, yeah. And then the same-sex marriage licensing came out, and my boss came to me. I was handing in my notice, and she said, "Oh, I'm looking at our new same-sex wedding coordinator," but I struggled with that a bit, Nick, because I've got a little bit of a flirtatious nature, so I didn't really convert any same-sex weddings. I'm not gonna lie. And then, yeah, so I decided the UK wasn't for me anymore. I loved my time in Turkey, so I went and interviewed for TUI and Thomas Cook, or Thompson as it was called then as well. And I got offered a job with Thompson in Turkey, and I got offered a job with Thomas Cook in Egypt. So I took myself off to Egypt, and I worked in 7 different countries in 7 years. So I had the best time of my life. And then I'm back in the UK now. I'm ready and raring to go for, well, I've been back here for about 5 or 6 years now.
Brilliant. And so what you do now is you founded the PA Forum. So how did you get from working in the work that you did to becoming an ambassador and champion for the PA world? Doesn't seem like a natural jump, to be fair.
It's a question, and to be honest with you, it's a question I ask myself every single day. I came back to the UK. I was on job seekers allowance for 9 months. It was really hard. I was trying to get back into the hospitality industry, but as a salesperson or as a corporate event organizer, the question kept coming up: who do you know? Who do you know? What's your network? Who do you know? And I didn't know anybody. And luckily, I did kind of blag my way into a hotel a little bit and say, at the end of the interview number 27, I went, okay, I just know everybody. And, that question just sent over the edge, got the job. And I thought, actually, I really need to get to know everybody now. So I just took myself off out and about and started talking to the region's PAs. And naturally they were looking for venues to organize events, etc. But it was really, I'm a real big advocate of networking. Having a really valuable network and a really fantastic network of people around you, not only to support you professionally but personally, is just awesome. And we've just grown over many years. We did our first event, which was all about creating a LinkedIn profile. A lot of PAs actually don't really use LinkedIn that much. Some do now. But there are some that, might have said, "Oh, I've got a LinkedIn profile, but I've never logged on before. I'm not sure how to use it." And we did a LinkedIn profile building lunch with them, and it went really well. We had 45 people there. Then we had the person that organised Gary Barlow's wedding. We had 100 people at that one. Then we had a PA that actually ended up buying the logistics company that she worked for and turning it into a multi-million-pound business, and that was a really aspirational talk. And it's taken off since we're in our 6th year now, and over 1,000 members here based in the West Midlands, which is just really overwhelming sometimes to think about it.
Phenomenal. I mean, and to gain that kind of traction, like you said, I'm a firm believer in the power of your network as well. Back in my employed life, the networking was actually the only way I wanted to kind of sell in that sense and connect with people. And actually it was your social life as well. I mean, if you look at my kind of friendship groups now, they all come from that time. I'm kind of godfather to my mate's little and it all came from networking. So it's really interesting that we see networking as a business opportunity, but very often it's just community. And boy, over the past 2 years, that's what we've really missed, isn't it? That kind of that in-person, tactile, tangible community.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, that I've always had really good relationships with people in the hospitality industry. And I missed that network when I got made redundant in 2020 because of the pandemic. But what was amazing was that we still had this really active network of people that just really wanted support. And people were going through incredibly emotional time. mental well-being was rock bottom for a lot of people, and we just needed to do things that lifted people through. And Nick, you were one of those people that, you know, supported us through that pandemic with, you know, the inspirational talk that you did for our members was just absolutely awesome, and we had such a fantastic response from that. And you kindly invited some of them onto your full day speaking academy, and that was just really well received. So thank you so much for that, because it was people like you and the network that we have and the talking and sharing and people just being open, honest about the way that they're feeling just really helped to carry people through that period and come out the other side, like you said, with friendship groups. And how amazing that you've got, like, you know, the godfather, like, well, your friends are godfather. Awesome. Do you know what I mean? It's just awesome.
It really is. And thank you for your kind words as well. And for those who don't know, myself and Dan are working together this year as well, delivering lots of different things across the year. So I'm really excited to get to know your network. I guess the one thing I did want to ask you, actually, is somebody in the PA environment, you don't see many men doing that. Why would you say that is, rather than make assumptions? Why would you say that is?
Well, it's interesting. I had a conversation this morning to some of the local schools and academies, because we're really trying to do a campaign to go in and promote the profession, because
that's great stuff.
It was really interesting. The lady who started our mentoring initiative, Tracy Whitehouse, she used to support the UK CEO of DHL Supply Chain, and she set up a fantastic internal mentoring scheme. And we now want to kind of bring this scheme where the PAs are helping each other and mentoring each other and put that into schools. And it's one of the things she says was, kids say, I want to be a businessman. And she said, well, what do you mean by a businessman? And they went, I want to wear a suit and have a briefcase and have my own business. And that's great if that's what but we need to change that perception, because like when people think about jobs in engineering or jobs in construction, it's not just about the practical side of things. There's a huge back office operation where there's loads of different roles available, loads of opportunity for people to move into. And what was really interesting about the academies that we spoke to this morning, they agreed and said that they don't, when they leave school, not very rarely think about, I want to be in a business or executive support role. And even more rarely, men or boys that are leaving school that will think, or young people in general that will think, that's a profession that I really want to get into. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done. But the Executive and Personal Assistants Association, which is founded by Victoria Ratton, she did a Not Just a Girls campaign, and she still continues to run that campaign. She's done really well to highlight those people that have had a career that are men within the sector, where they've worked, what they do. I mean, some of these people are supporting like ultra high net worth individuals that globally, you know, traveling around the world, absolute billionaires. But then it's not just about that. It's about, you know, working in roles with women, and also to try and kind of bridge that gap, that gender gap, between making people realize that it's not just a role that's there for women, it's a fantastic career opportunity for men, and it's to try and change perceptions with that as well. And I think they've done a fantastic job doing that.
Yes, it's a really weird dynamic twist, actually, because usually on the show we have lots of people from lots of sectors and different walks of life and stuff, and we're having the opposite conversation. Why aren't women involved in this? So it's really interesting to have a different conversation. And again, but I guess it all stems again from the generational overhang. I remember kind of on our being toured at school. I'm 44 now, so when we were touring around like the school, primary school last year, looking at what we potentially could do when we're grown up. Don't think I've got that yet. But we were taken around this big kind of factory, and the factory was very kind of traditional, kind of British 80s kind of factory. And the offices were kind of like mahogany walls, mahogany desks, and it was all just the typical kind of stereotype of business. And like you said, actually, that's what I want to be, a businessman. And it's an interesting twist now, really, that with the rise of the entrepreneur, it seems like being any form of employed person is secondary, interestingly, to qualify that. And I've always built a career trying to be the best second in command I can be. That's kind of what I did for all of my career up until I went self-employed. And I said many times on the show, that's why I think self-employment doesn't come naturally to me. entrepreneurism doesn't come naturally to me, because there's not 1 week that goes by I don't want to press that big red eject button. I find it quite difficult to be self-employed, and I love what I do, but the business of it is really difficult in that sense. So I think with the rise of the entrepreneur, sometimes people can feel that they're not achieving if they're not in a certain role or certain status. Is that right?
Yeah, I think I very much feel the same as you. I don't think I was made to be an entrepreneur and to be a business owner. I've been thrown into, without my own choice, having been through redundancy, to create my own business to survive and thrive, which I love. But I don't, people say to me, why don't you charge that? Why do you charge that? That's not really much at all. I'm like, it's not, it's, for me, it's the enjoyment. And for me, it's about the quality of life and the enjoyment that I get out of what I do. I'm not a money person. I am all about having nice things that I can afford and go on nice holidays when I can, and to live the best life that I can possibly live. Not about what's ka-chinging in the till, and kind of how much money can I make in 1 year. It's never really been something for me. I think what I love, and that's why we love working with you, Nick, is that synergy of you want to go out there and help people, and you support people, and you share your story and your rawness around your own experiences and what you do. And for me, that's very much the same. I love helping people, and if I can do that and bring joy to other people's lives, that brings joy to my life. And I think I can't imagine for you when you're stood up in front of all those people and you're doing a keynote, and you can just see the reaction of the people for what they're saying to you, as I've seen, it must be awesome.
Again, thanks again. Just take you with me wherever I go. It's the closest, and this is going to sound really weird, but it's true. It's the closest I ever come to that feeling of kind of euphoria, when you feel in total flow with an audience, because you kind of like, you're all in it together in that sense. We're going on a journey where we're going through these experiences. And so even though it's set to the context of my own stuff, as you know from being on the receiving end, it's actually about us, all of us, taking time to think about our own stuff. And we're so busy firefighting nowadays, we don't do that kind of thing, do we? And I think that's the bit I love, really. And I think that's also the reason why after an event I feel like a puppet with the strings cut. I feel absolutely knackered, because it's kind of, something's kind of flung from me as opposed to through me. If I was truly professional in that sense of the word, then I would get good at actually letting things go through me. But I want to maintain that authenticity. I want to maintain the honesty of it, and to make people feel something, you need to feel that with them, kind of thing. So I can talk about that stuff for ages, but it's not about me, it's about you. You're on here.
Yeah, like I say, I think it's really inspiring, Nick, and I think it's when you surround yourself with people like you and the other people that have supported us, it only inspires me to do more, and me to do more for our community. And what I've loved seeing over this journey of 5 or 6 years with our communities, the confidence and the self-belief of our community coming through, and thinking, they're constantly now thinking, how can I evolve my role? What can I do? What can I get involved with? Loads of PAs are now really getting more involved in project management, in CSR, supporting the business to be more sustainable, have a better experience throughout their local community, and what they can give back. And they're just hungry for so much information. I've never worked with a community that literally want to absorb everything that they know. It's absolutely amazing. It does put the pressure on a little bit, because you think, what can I do now? Like, I need, they're so hungry for more information and learning, and to build this community. I'm like, where can we go from here? But they're coming up with ideas and suggestions now that I just love watching them coming up and creating all these things. And if I can be the person that implements it and makes it happen, that it for me is boom, job done. Love it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's phenomenal. Again, it's another interesting one to ask you, I guess, what's next? Because I think you're right. I think in the PA/VA world, you kind of and we're assuming people know this stuff: personal assistant, virtual assistant, and electronic assistant. Is that right?
Executive assistant.
Executive assistant. I'm not going to edit. I promise. Even though I've messed up, I promise I'm not going to edit. I'm going to keep.
Are you not at all? It's great, Nick, because Lucy Brazier, who she is the chief executive of Executive Support magazine. She's just done some research, and globally, there's 57 different job titles for admin assistants, office assistants, executive assistants, office managers, personal assistants. And there's loads of different roles out there. So it's exactly, it's great that you brought it up, because there are so many different variations of the role.
I firmly believe that if you don't understand something, you just need to ask. And we had an amazing guest on a couple of episodes ago now, Ryan Shepherd, who was talking about pronouns, which is something that I've really not struggled with, but it's something I've really found difficult to understand, as it doesn't affect me in that sense. And the only way I'll find out is by asking him on the show and asking these questions. And it was just an amazing episode. It's not being afraid to ask questions, and that's what breaks the stereotypes. I think you look at that kind of the point I was going to make was that the traditional overhang of being a PA or anything in essence means that you make the tea and type some notes, because that's kind of what we've kind of traditionally thought it to be. But we had an amazing lady called Kate on, who was the franchisor for the Passionate PA here in the Southwest, but I think all over the place. And she was talking about how actually each one of her PAs will have a specialism. So one specializes in accounts or personal development, so actually it's so deep, isn't it? And like you said, by the amazing work that you're doing to upskill your community, they then take that on to their clients to help them with. So it's not about their personal growth itself, it's about how they then work with other people, isn't it?
Yeah.
This show is sponsored by Forging People, Transformational Speaking Coaching. Are you truly being heard in life, in business, in education, even at home? Your ability to deliver any message with clarity, power, and emotion will have an ultimately defining impact on your success as a speaker, leader, and influencer. For more information, contact team@forgingpeople.com. Are you truly being heard? It's time to find your voice.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the toughest things I think we've launched is, and what's opened my mind was when we launched the West Midlands PA Awards many years ago. We opened applications, and for 6 weeks we didn't have a single person apply, not one person, across 5 categories. And this was, and I was like, what's going on here? Why are people not being nominated? And there was an ex-director of a huge assurance company posted in our Facebook page and said, I can't believe there's an award ceremony for people that order stationery and book appointments in other people's calendars. I mean, so I screenshotted that and I shared it. I literally uploaded it onto an email, downloaded the database, and I sent it. And all I put in this email, Nick, was if there was ever a reason to enter an awards, it's this, and that's it. I didn't need to say anything else. And the applications came flying in. And I thought to myself, I actually wrote to that man afterwards and said, thank you, because you have shown exactly why we need to change perception. And I'm not one of these people that bang the drum. I'm not one of these people that, sit there and think that PAs are, massively undervalued, because they're not. They are strategic business partners working with their executive to make that person be the best person that they can be, and that executive should be doing exactly the same for them and making sure that they are valued, they are appreciated, and they save the company and their executives so much time, so much money by being so efficient. And I think that is a skill that you need to learn over so many years and fine-tune that skill. It's just not something that you can just walk in and just be able to do. And I just admire them so much for what they do to support their business. They always have the business and the executive at the heart of everything that they do. And I think that's just really fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And as an ex-stationer, I've always had big love for PAs anyway. That's because of the office supplies thing originally, and now I'm learning more from you, so it's all good.
It's awesome. Yeah, and like I say, I look back, Nick, and I think to those days, and I think, I was a yellow banana. How have I ended up being here? But I think it just goes, I think being a holiday rep, we were drilled in. Our Thomas Cook ethos was we go further to make your dreams come true, and that has always stuck with me. And our other slogan was "Our world revolves around you," and that was drummed into us for years and years and years. And it's something that's never left me. And people say to me, "Why do you do so much? Why do you do what you do?" And it's because of that. That's exactly it.
Love that. That's brilliant. It's so good. So we were going to originally do this at the end of season 3, and I'm so glad that we didn't. And hear me out, I promise. And I'm glad it's season 4 because in between you've been dancing for Strictly. And you said it so casually. I can't record this afternoon. I've got my training for Strictly. What? People don't throw that line around. That's huge.
Well, yeah. Well, first, it's amazing. But it's basically it's a local charity event called Strictly Christmas, and just to kind of give you I was driving to practice in Birmingham, and I got pulled over by the police, and I very rarely get pulled over by the police. And he was pulled in, and he was like, "Sir, can you step out the car, take the keys out the ignition on the dashboard, and step out?" I was like, "What have I done, officer?" He's like, "Repeat it again." Got out the car, and they were going around my car doing all these checks for ages. Everything was fine, by the way. I pay all my bills. The officer says, "Your sat nav's on. Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to a rehearsal in Coventry for Strictly." And he went, he said, "You can't be going to a rehearsal for Strictly because you would definitely have a better car than that." And I was like, "It's a charity event. It's not like Strictly." But what's great is it worked exactly the same as Strictly. So we were doing it for Zoe's Place Baby Hospice. We had to raise a minimum of £500 per person to be involved in it. And then we just literally, like, brand new day at school, walk in, no one really kind of talking to each other, all really shy. And we get paired with our partners. And I was partnered with Tom Mitchell. And he's got a very, very special place in my heart now. Look at my face. I can just see his face when I talk about him.
I mean, we kind of recorded this before, but I definitely want to do it again because you've definitely got a vibe, a glow when you talk about him.
I know. He's literally he's a very confident person. I think what I love about creatives is they've got this kind of ooze, this confidence sometimes, around them. And he's very talented, very creative, but he knows it. And the banter between us is just brilliant. But we had to learn a quick step and a cha-cha. And we were doing rehearsals twice a week. And we had to perform in front of 400 people each night over 2 nights. And we collectively, between the 27 contestants, we raised just under £115,000 for charity.
Wow, that's awesome. Amazing.
Yeah, and I had so much support from social media, from our network, from everybody. And I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone for supporting our fundraising efforts, but also our collective fundraising efforts, because it's a phenomenal amount of money for such a fantastic cause. And I also, I've got to thank Tom, because he put up with me, and I'm quite overwhelming. I think when you spend a lot of time with me, it's quite a lot. And
looking forward to this year. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah. But do you know what? It came at a time where I literally thought my head was going to explode. I was so overwhelmed. I didn't know what I was doing. I was so busy. I don't know about you, Nick, but when we came back out and the world woke up again, all of this ethos of I'm never going back to that world again, I'm never doing that. I was busier than I was before the pandemic. It was absolutely bonkers. Did you find that?
Yeah, absolutely same. Yeah, definitely. And I mean, that's what I mean. It's amazing and quite scary, actually, how quickly we adapt to circumstances. And like you said, all those things we kind of said along the way, going to keep more time to self-care, that kind of stuff. And suddenly it's like, whoosh on a plane. I mean, the first event was up in Glasgow, so flying up to Glasgow, it's thinking,
yeah.
You mentioned one thing I did want to touch on, actually, which we did on the kind of the other recording, which is now consigned to history, but is an important point that you mentioned about same-sex couples, and obviously that was made kind of, I guess, famous in its truest sense on last season of Strictly. Now, the reason why I wanted to bring that up is because it was a really interesting chat that we had about actually that you felt that sometimes the offence is felt on your behalf if somebody goes against that, for example. Do you find it's quite a divisive thing? And what's your kind of take on that? And how important to you was it to have a same-sex partner for your charity dance?
It's really, really, like, literally just before this interview, I was just seeing the news was on, and I just saw, they were interviewing people out from the LGBTQ plus community that were in the RAF and the armed forces who got sent to prison for being gay. And, I am very lucky. I feel very lucky that I wasn't around those times, and I can't begin to imagine what they went through. And I watched It's a Sin during the lockdown, and God, did that get me? I wasn't around during that time, but my God, it really got me. And I think it really affected a lot of my friends a lot, but it was really good to appreciate what people were going through in those stages. But I think I did apply, when I applied for Strictly, they asked the question, would you prefer a same-sex couple? And I did say the reason I said yes, and this is just not so I'm like, I have to have a same-sex, the reason I said yes was because I didn't fully understand what the competition was. And I thought if I was to be a lead, that I would have to lift. And I literally have got the upper body strength of a dead gnat. So I was like, I can't lift anybody. I can't even lift myself up sometimes. Do you know what I mean? So I thought to myself, I can you imagine on being whirled around all over the place, picked up, doing all these things. I thought it'd be great to have a male guy that could do that. Now, what I loved was they went off and spoke to Tom and said, are you happy dancing with a same-sex couple, with another man? And he said, doesn't bother me at all. Absolutely. When we first got paired together, he was like, I said to him, thank you so much for doing this. And he was like, yeah, my wife has said it was okay. My wife said this. My wife said that. And after about 45 minutes, I went, I get that you're married, Tom. I was like, I get that there's a Mrs. Mitchell out there somewhere. And I was like, I'd love to meet her. He introduced me to her. We went round to his in-laws, to the in-laws' house. I met his mom, met his sister. It was fantastic, really, really good. And we on the first night when we had the judges, we won, and it was really overwhelming, really emotional. When we won, his little nephew just was sat right in the corner of the room, this massive room. And all you heard was Uncle Tom, and he just ran onto the stage and just pounced onto Tom, and he hugged him. And God, that just really, really got me. Then I was like, wow, this is like just amazing. And he posted on Instagram, and he got quite a bit of ream of abuse. And I didn't know at first he got it until I met his wife, and we went for lunch afterwards. And she said, yeah, he did get a bit of stick for that. And I found that to be really disappointing, because why should he get stick for that? He's done something that has made me feel positively amazing. And he's done something where we've shared this incredible journey together that I haven't experienced stuff like that for quite a number of years. So to get it was literally like being hit by a train. I thought, God, this is still going on. It's still out there. And he who's done absolutely nothing but do something amazing for charity and give his own time up, has to kind of suffer that type of abuse from people. I just think it's just utterly wrong. It really disappointed me that we still have that in society. It's just such a shame.
But even nationally, with the main Strictly, that there were, again, it just provokes a response from certain sectors of, it is surprising that there's still that kind of shock around it all.
Yeah. It does take away from how you feel. We're naturally human, aren't we? So we whilst it was a hugely, massively positive experience, it's only naturally human that we remember, we always, you know, unfortunately imprint those little negative things in our head that we remember, and we make a big thing out of it. And it's right, because it affects the way that we feel. But what I loved about him is he just absolutely brushed that off. It affected me more than it affected him. But my number one, my number one concern was how he felt, and that he was okay with that. And he just like, I mean, he dyes his hair blonde. He goes running in the most shortest running shorts I think I've ever seen in my life. And I said to him, you do ask for it sometimes, I'm not going to lie. But no, it was fantastic. And I think seeing the same-sex couples on Dancing and I, seeing the same-sex couples on Strictly Come Dancing has just been fantastic. And it's really propelled us into this place where we were the first same-sex couple to ever take part in that competition.
Wow, fair play.
And so to take part and have the backing of the people that were there, and the support with all the fundraising, and to win and be part of that family and welcomed into that family and have this amazing group of people has just been utterly memorable. And if you're local to the West Midlands, if you're around Coventry, they're going to be opening up applications in the springtime, and I can't tell you enough to apply and go and do it, because it's just amazing.
And like you said, that kind of creativity and being able to immerse yourself in a project was really good for you as well, and your mental health and your well-being.
Yeah, I was sitting here, Nick, till 11 o'clock every night. I was literally working from 8 till 11, 4 days a week, trying to do accounts, invoices, sales, you know, getting new clients, running events. It was crazy. And this was stop, right? Just stop. Shut the laptop, turn the phone off, go in the car, listen to amazing music, sing your heart out. It's an hour and 10-minute drive there for me, there, and hour and 10-minute back. I loved that. Brilliant headspace. And then it was dance, come back, shattered, get into bed, wake up, a new day. And I absolutely loved it. So I've carried on doing the ballroom. I'm going every Thursday for new ballroom dance lessons with a different partner. Tom, if you're listening, I've moved in on somebody else, unfortunately.
Breaking news.
Yeah.
He's moving on.
Yeah. So yeah,
you heard it here first, folks.
Yeah, I love it. And that's the thing. I think it's really inspired me to find something that I love doing, and that's been so good for my own personal mental health that I want to carry on doing it, because every time I do it, it just reminds me of that experience.
And did you have any kind of dance experience from before? Or is it you kind of went straight in kind of cold?
I did jazz lessons when I was a kid, and I did dance a little bit when I was overseas, but that was in the Bella the Banana days. But it was jazz. It was mostly jazz, and we used to do, you know, comedy sketch shows. But we used to do a bit of Cats, Chicago, all those different types of things, as well as backing dancers. But I've never actually danced with somebody, and realizing that when they move their left, you need to move your right, and you are literally here, like connected to each other and dancing. I've never done that before. And when I started, I was like, oh my God, I can't get this at all. What's going on? And now it's, you know, coordination for me. It does take a little bit of time. But I love it. And I hope I can build on it. And again, if I can enter that competition again, maybe help somebody else that's come in and wants that kind of help and support to get through. I'll never be as good as Tom, but it would be great to be able to help them out as well. I'd love to do that. Yeah.
Coming up on a future episode, we're going to have Tom Mitchell just to get the flip side of what's going on right now.
He's going to love the fact that we've literally spoken about it for this length of time. Oh my God.
So what's next? I mean, like I said, the PA forum's going well. You work hard with business development and that kind of stuff. What's next for you?
So my dream, my vision is to have my little place in Gran Canaria quiet little holiday complex that, might not be as busy as it used to, next to a pool, doing some coaching sessions online, or, still running my events virtually, still coming back to the UK, and keeping in touch with my community. But yeah, that's my dream. To get there, it's going to take a bit of time. Being self-employed, I didn't realize that to get a mortgage overseas, you need to have at least 2 or 3 years of books behind you.
Yeah,
that's been a bit of a kick in the teeth. And then some of the challenges I've faced now is that my nan passed away in December, which was really difficult, and I had to
I'm so sorry.
Thank you. I had to pause my client work for December, came back in January, and they were like, some of them were like, well, actually we need to pause you now for January because Omicron.
Yeah.
And I'm like, when you're self-employed and you trying to get that consistency is really hard, and I think I've really appreciated that as a person that's only very recently been self-employed. I have a massive respect for people that have been self-employed and had to make this journey, and I just hope that I can learn those lessons quite quickly along the way. But what's next is my goal: get to Gran Canaria. That's what I'm going to be doing. And I want to try and make as much of an impact as I can during that time while I'm here, to build our network, to help as many people as I possibly can, and hopefully hand the forum over to somebody that's going to be in the UK all the time, that can carry on to move it forward and keep that momentum going. I still want to be part of it, but I want to be able to build it up to such a point where I hand it over to the PAs that are part of the community, that want to run it and make it even better, because it's their community.
Yeah, absolutely. And the question I like to ask everybody that comes on this show: I am now the MC of the O2 Arena in London. 20,000 people paid a hard-earned money to come and hear you dance. See you dancing. I'm just about to call you to the stage. You're sat in the green room, you're kicking back with your legs on the table, and your walk-on music kicks in. That song that motivates you, that lifts you, that gets you at peak state. That song that's going to make you perform at your very best when you reach that stage. What would that track be, and why, Dan Skermer?
This is like the most amazing question ever. It's really literally gone through my mind. And and I asked a couple of people this morning when I knew that you were going to ask me, and I was like, oh my God, what would you say? They're like, what a whopping question. I think for me, back in the day, it definitely would have been a bit of, I love Destiny's Child, so it would have been something like Bootylicious. But there is a song that I'm listening to at the moment. It wouldn't be the beginning bit because it'd have to kick in. And it's from Pink, and I love Pink because she's a massive, she's a huge advocate of the LGBT community. If you listen to most of her music, she probably swears quite a bit in it, and she doesn't care. And she's really true to her lyrics and what she says. And this song is called All I Know So Far. And actually, there's a bit in the chorus which I think is really good, and it says, "Stay unfiltered and loud. You'll be proud of that skin full of scars." And I think that's amazing, because it just goes to show what kind of place that we are in at the moment with social media, with the internet, etc. And I just think to myself, she's just so real. Just be you. Just be you. You're not going to be everybody's person, but you will be some people's person. And I think, don't apply to the millions, just apply to those people that you can help and make a difference with. And I think she's literally nailed it right there.
Perfect. Powerful stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Skermer.
Thank you, Nick.
What a guy. Thank you so much for coming on the show twice.
Yes.
And with a fair wind, we're going to get this recording nailed this time, and we're going to have no hiccups, and it'll all go out as planned for episode 4. And if it doesn't, no one's going to see this anyway. No. So we're all good. Dan, I'd love to get you back for a future season. I think we've got far much more to talk about, especially as we go through this year as well, and working together closely as well. So yeah, Dan Skermer, thanks so much. Everybody else, please hit like and subscribe. Do connect with Dan. His links and stuff and content's in the bio. I'm sure he'll be really happy to hear from you. And stay tuned for next Monday's episode. Another amazing guest coming your way. In the meantime, that's a wrap. Be happy, take care, and stay well. See you soon, guys. Cheers. Bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. Do hit the like button and subscribe to stay tuned for future episodes. Published every Monday and available through YouTube or the podcast platform of your choice. See you next week.